probably going to be some more people just coming in as we go. But I want to thank all of you for being here today for our inaugural Data Analytics and Python Demo Day. Try saying that 3 times fast. Some of you are, people that take your time and show up for us on demo days for full stack web development. And so I'm really, really happy that you've chosen to join us today. I will say that throughout these last 12 weeks, I'm not hearing words like JavaScript and HTML and CSS. I'm hearing NumPy and pandas and linear regression and those kinds of terms. So I've learned a whole lot over these last 12 weeks going through this with these great students, and can tell you really partial now to bubble charts, which I know that you're going to see today. So why don't we go through just really quickly, why don't we do name, title, and company? So Stephanie Grimshaw, why don't you kick it off?
Okay, Stephanie Grimshaw, Savvy Coders, NetEffects, Savvy Coders. I'm jack of all trades, do a lot of different things. NetEffects IT Recruiter.
Thank you. I'm going to skip over the students because obviously they're going to do their own thing. Elaine.
Hi, everybody. Elaine Queetham. 6 years ago, I started Savvy Coders. Seems like yesterday. So glad you're all here.
All right. Justin.
Hi, everyone. I'm Justin Treadwell with Savvy Coders. I'm Director of New Programs, and one of my programs is this one, which already in just 6 short weeks that I've been with Savvy, I've really been impressed, and it's really got my heart. So I'm supposed to start a cyber program in October, but my heart will forever be with data analytics for sure. I just like it. Tableau is awesome, and these students really mastered it.
Awesome. Okay, Nicole.
Hi, I'm Nicole with LETC. My role here is the Career Development Specialist for both Full Stack and Data Analytics. We work in partnership with our favorite people, Savvy Coders. So nice to meet and see everyone.
Thank you. Okay, Alex.
Hi, I'm Alex McMahon. I'm an IT technical recruiter for Brooksource. I think you guys are usually, I think Sarah's usually here, but I'm filling in for Sarah today. She couldn't make it. So I'm excited to be here. And this is my first one, so I'm excited to see what you guys have.
We are glad to have you. Okay, Melissa.
Hi, I'm Melissa Pabst. I'm representing Savvy today. I was a product of their program. I did it 4 years ago. I'm thriving and working for the Fed today as a QA engineer. I also contributed to the curriculum you'll see today. So I'm excited to see what everyone brings.
Okay, and Doug.
Hi, folks. My name is Doug Van Horn. I am also representing Savvy today. I was the instructor for the business intelligence and Tableau portions of the boot camp. And I spent 18 years with MasterCard and left there just recently. And now I'm working in analytics governance for Dun & Bradstreet.
Thanks, Doug. Okay, Mohammed. Oh, Carrie, wait a minute. I skipped over Carrie. My screen went Brady Bunch crazy. Carrie, you go, and then we'll have Hasid.
Sure. I'm Carrie Eckelkamp. I'm the entry-level recruiter for St. Louis and San Antonio for Accenture Federal Services, located here in St. Louis, our new office that's opening up. And we have data analytics that focuses on kind of all of the spectrum of Tableau, visualization, ETL, data mining. So looking forward to hearing about your projects tonight.
Great. Okay, Hasid.
Hi, Hasid Mohammed, Principal Engineer at Plier Solutions. I am at the tail end of finishing up my master's in machine learning at Georgia Tech, and I wanted to see what y'all made today. Thank you.
Jenny, did I skip over you?
Yes, but it's okay. I forgive you.
I'm so Introduce yourself, please.
I'm Jenny Fackler. I'm with Polaris Solutions. I'm the IT recruiter here. We're starting to actually kind of build out a data. So we're just, interested in seeing what all you guys have kind of come up with. And I'm really excited to see your guys' presentations.
Glad to have you. Sorry I skipped you.
Sorry.
Okay, Katie.
I'm Katie. I work at Dirty Business Solutions. I'm a technical sourcer and work with our Dirty University program for entry-level people. So excited to be here and see their presentations today.
We're happy that you're here. Okay, last but never least, Kelly Spangler.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kelly Spangler. I'm with UAW-LETC. I work with Nicole, and we partner with our great partners at Savvy Coder to be able to bring some funding opportunities to eligible participants.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, so without further ado, let's kick this thing off. First in the rotation is going to be Stephanie Freeman. So take it away whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon. My name is Stephanie Freeman, and my presentation, I want to give a little bit about myself. I am from the Midwest, Central Illinois, and pretty much I have had a background in agriculture and forestry. I worked and lived in New England and managed 800,000 acres of forestry as a GIS coordinator, and then moved closer to home and wanted to experience and just I've missed the Midwest because there's 4 seasons and that's so important to me. But I have a passion for data visualization, especially with being a mapper and mapping trees, harvesting trees, recreation. It's always been my passion. And I really enjoy telling a story. And I think it's very important to tell a story with data, especially when you're in a field of agriculture and forestry. And when people think of agriculture and forestry, they think of farming, but there's so many interesting perspectives of it. So I'm going to share one of my perspectives. I'm going to present my dissertation, and it says, have you had your daily dosage of hexavalent chromium? So I use my data set from my dissertation to move forward and use it in a different platform, and we'll get into the presentation now. So as you're aware, in the United States, it's a very serious issue about water quality, and hexavalent chromium is a carcinogen. And my study at the time looked at northern Alabama, Huntsville, and Decatur, but I was looking at the Environmental Working Group project, which talked about water quality throughout the nation. And California is very progressive in standardization of water quality, and they are trendsetters. So California proposed 0.2 parts per billion permissible. So we're going to keep moving forward. We're going to go first over overview of what I did. So the first section I was mentioned, we did Python. So Python is a great tool to scrub and clean your data. And so I used Python Jupyter Notebook to pretty much find out the mean of hexavalent chromium and do some standard deviations just to determine what the data is. So in the process of doing that, I start seeing patterns. So that pattern of correlations, because what you don't know about my research, I was jumping into river streams and caves and collecting water samples on the Tennessee River, and with the goal in mind that what does pH play a role in? Millivolts is electrodes that go through the water currently to get a temperature, and then temperature to see if there's a correlation. So this data frame right here, I did a code to look at if there was a correlation with hexavalent chromium. And so based on and using the California 0.02 parts per billion, I determined that there is a linear regression, and basically pH, millivolt, and temperature are correlated to the levels of hexavalent chromium. And the next slide, we're going to discuss the rationale and the selection of a data set. You know, this is a great way to illustrate data. And I just really wanted to say, okay, so I haven't looked at my dissertation for a minute, but it's such a powerful information. How can I tell a story that most people don't know about their water resource, or they're semi-aware? And what was the preliminary analysis, and why is it significant? And now I'm going to transition into the visual analysis aspect of it, of Tableau. So let's get to that. And here we go. So as we continue, I kind of talked a little about hexavalent chromium, but this gets into the heart of my dissertation. So hexavalent chromium is an amazing chemical. One, it's used for metabolism for our bodies, but when it's converted to chromium plating, what you may not be aware of, everything that is coded for computers to the shuttle is anti-corrosive, and this is what this chemical is capable of doing. And it also creates pretty colors like purple, reds, greens, and yellows. It's an amazing chemical, and it's been found, been used since the Chinese dynasty to coat their swords. I want to emphasize the importance of what equivalent is. 1 drop of water, a part per billion, is pretty much the size of an Olympic pool. So when they're saying 0.02 parts per billion, it's really finite, but it has a significant impact on our health. So here is the data set. This is the environmental working group data set that they collected water samples around the nation. And I can zoom in a little bit just to show you here. Some of them were significant. But as you can see, as we go further in and as I zoom out, we have some very interesting facts here. There's no data on North Alabama or Alabama in general. And this is a very important issue, as I talked about a little bit, that basically in these areas in the Southeast, most of the time they do not follow the standards, or they do the bare minimum standards requested for federal and state. So the significance of my dissertation was to set a baseline in northern Alabama, which is known for NASA and Redstone Arsenal, Decatur, VM, which are high industrialized areas. So what I found out with the hexavalent chromium, it causes lung cancer if you're chrome plating or drinking it, liver damage, reproductive problems, and developmental harm. And I want to really focus on something here. So when you look at this map below here, there is that's the Tennessee River. Those blue dots represent the industrialized areas on the Tennessee River, and there's 2 nuclear plants that are on the river. So that impacts the heat as well of the water and the quality. And that's where most of the drinking water is in northern Alabama and throughout the state. So channels throughout the state. So moving forward, so some of the data I collected from sites, commercial sites like your big box stores. And Huntsville Utilities was very kind enough to allow me to sample their water, and industrial areas that were right near the area associated with your blue segments of industry. And then I just jumping into river streams and caves and groundwater to determine some things. But what was significant in this data set, because orange represents Huntsville and Decatur is in blue. As you can see there is a significant jump in hexavalent chromium. At the time, I didn't know this, but 6 months to a year later, I found out that 3M was dumping illegally at the time in December when I went to collect samples, and I couldn't figure out why. But it came out that they were dumping massive amounts of hexavalent chromium, which impacted not only Decatur, because this is where 3M is located. So all your little sticky pads that you have with the adhesive that you can, the Post-it notes, they are the developers and users of hexavalent chromium to make those products. So this was a significant impact. So, and then the reality that 3M admitted that they had legally dumped and released chemicals in the Tennessee River, which increases people's opportunity of getting different types of cancers and other physical challenges. So you're probably wondering, why should I care about this? Why should I even worry about this compared to the district? I just want you to see that the state of Alabama was not considered for the environmental working group's hexavalent chromium initiative because it was too small of a population. But this is a common issue. So if we can look at this bubble chart here, Huntsville and Decatur had quite a large amount, but Norman, Oklahoma is almost equivalent too. So there needs to be some understanding and education. So I'm going to transition back to my presentation. So you're probably wondering, like, okay, so why should I care? One, it's above average. Two, you should care because you drink water all the time, you shower in it. You need to really be aware of this resource. So here's some action items that you can do for yourself. You can advocate, you can participate in a water consortium or be a water watch group, which is great. I did it a lot. I learned so much. There's so many passionate people at the grassroots level. And, you know, even NASA realized after chrome plating, if you don't know it, all the shuttles go through Tennessee River and then they're coated in chrome baths. And it's the runoff that leaks into the soil that runs into the river, which causes illness as well. So NASA has refined their bathing process for their chemicals, and they're always looking for new opportunities. So if you want to learn more about my project, I put together a link and I can send it, and I'll just briefly show it. But it goes over some of the details of what I've talked about. And then also I put the PowerPoint presentation, and this is an interactive website that you can look at the data set. And that was Esri software. So some of my challenges, and I'm going to conclude, but some of my challenges were I wanted to show this in a visual way. Python's great and Tableau's great. And I wanted to use raster data sets. And for those that don't know what raster data sets are, they're satellite images. So Tableau is not, it does not communicate with raster data set. So I had to use Esri products, and they also use Python. So this was a great way to merge the tools that I have been learning in Savvy and apply it to a tool that I'm very familiar with. So I would like to conclude. That's my conclusion. And if you had any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
I love your topic. I'm a huge nerd about health and wellness and ecosystems, so really enjoyed learning about that. Thank you for sharing this with us today. What made you pick that topic? What got you into that area of interest?
Well, my advisor at the time was like, I'm not interested in tourism. I don't want you to do that. You have this great molecular biology background and this chemical side. I'd like for you to look at water because water is where it's going to be. This is what you need to consider. And I was like, I need my doctorate. I will modify my storyline and we go from there.
Very good. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions for Stephanie?
Stephanie, great presentation. For those of us that are water drinkers, I'd have to, just agree that, it's always interesting to see what's going on with, this water, because you have different types of water, where it's coming from, is it even healthy, and how it's being packaged. So, this was a great topic, especially for those of us that drink water and just kind of try to decipher the two. It was interesting what you said about, I believe, was it Alabama, I believe, which was the state that they basically didn't even make the map to be, I guess, evaluated about the, the Puritans in the water. And that, I think every state should count, especially when you just look at that there's some of these states that has water that's not even good enough to drink. You literally travel and people tell you don't drink the water, just buy bottled water. So just a great topic and it was interesting to just see the data and how you were able to transform all of that into your presentation.
Great job, Stephanie.
Okay, I have one last slide.
Oh.
I'd like to thank everyone that's been a part of this process, Savvy Coders, from Desiree, who I saw on Facebook and called and asked questions, and she took initiative, and we had a good camaraderie, and she really put things in place so I could participate in this program. And I'd like to thank Nicole, Phyllis Gross, and Brianna Ward, my cohort, and all the people that have been with me in this process, all the Savvy Coders and the people that have supported me. I wanted to say thank you.
Great job. Okay, next up is David, whenever you are ready.
All right. Hello, everybody. Nice to meet you all. Thank you for being here also. I'm just going to give you a quick overall summary of who I am, my background, my presentation topic, how I wrangled, analyzed, presented the data, and why I chose this topic. To be honest, I wanted to do, my original topic was going to be on data, cryptocurrency and energy consumption, just out of my own interest. I thought it was a little bit of a sexier topic, but ended up changing last minute. A good friend of mine who is actually a data scientist now, he introduced me to the field a while back. He had recommended that I look into it, and he said he would be interested in 3PLs, so third-party logistics. But I'll give you a quick summary about myself. So I was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I grew up in Costa Rica until I moved to the US around 14. That's when I learned English, and it was North Carolina where I moved. I would say that I'm an analytically driven, detail-oriented person. I have a passion for solving problems and gaining actionable insights through data for product optimization. I have a diverse background in business administration as a manager for a telecommunications company, also as a technician for Motorola. A good bit of experience in sales, customer relations, and hospitality, project management, and optimization, including software testing for a navigation app that was launched for Android and iOS a while back. This was purchased by Waze. I don't know if anybody uses it to navigate and get out of traffic and know where the speed traps are. And this was later bought by Google. I also work at a cloud-based company, which whose platform worked with customers, employers, insurance carriers, brokers, and state government. Recently, I worked for a logistics company that handled both international, domestic shipments as well. This was a very fast-paced industry that required juggling multiple books of business at different levels. You have to have a keen eye for detail and anticipating anything that could possibly go wrong before it does, because it will cost a lot of money, especially when working with the federal side. Currently, I have been consulting for a company in digital marketing. There's a digital marketing agency out of Spain, and also for a real estate company. I decided to do the Savvy Coders Python Data Analytics Bootcamp after wanting to become more proficient at, again, gaining actionable insights through cutting-edge data science. I have to say ahead of time, their instructors have been incredible. If you have any employees that you want to have them boost their skills, Thomas Park, Melissa Paps, and Mr. Doug Van Horn and everybody there. The entire staff have been incredible. So highly recommend it. As far as my topic on 3PLs, I would start, and I don't know if anybody's familiar with 3PLs. I'm sure you've received packages at some point. Amazon is the largest one in the world. But what is a 3PL company? So I will be giving you a quick summary of what a 3PL is. And with the limited amount of time, I'll just give you a quick bit of the data that I uncovered, how I uncovered the data, and then I'll go into the detailed analytics for anybody that actually wants to see the code. So 3PL handles all aspects of shipping for the most part. Depending on how much you want to upscale your operation, they will do everything from shipping and receiving, picking and packing, warehousing, inventory management. FTL is full truckload or less than truckload, that's LTL. Needing customization and reverse logistics, that's pretty much when they actually handle the packages themselves. So if you have a product, you need to get it from your distributor to your customer, you can go through a 3PL that will help you expedite the process. They pretty much handle most of the logistics, so that way you can grow your company towards other areas. Should your business want to be considered using a 3PL, what are some of the things that you want to make sure and look at prior to making that big decision? So you got to make sure that the brand is compatible with your culture. Your relationship with this carrier is going to be the face of your company. So customers, everything that the customer is going to be seeing is going to be through this 3PL. So you want to ensure that they have, they're able to fulfill the needs that you have, the product that you're doing. If you're doing a refrigerated product, you want to ensure that they have the equipment, the routes that they travel, the trucks that they have, their whole platform. You want to ensure the technology that they use is compatible with what you use. Your tracking. I had a customer, for example, they required tracking literally every hour. This is packages that would come from Mexico to the US and then go to a military base. So they had to know where this was 24/7. So the company that you use, again, you want to ensure that they're compatible with what your needs are. Is it worth it for you? If it's going to save you time, or is it going to end up costing you more money than you need to? Is it cheaper to just not use them? So these are just some basic questions on what you would want to consider prior to making a decision. Location. Now, fulfillment center location, they're going to directly impact the shipping costs and customer satisfaction, as I mentioned before. So the further they are, any warehouses based that they have, you want to ensure that they're near where you need to deliver, where your package is coming in. Is it coming by a port? Then you want to ensure that the location they have accessible are compatible with your needs. Also, does your package come by railroad, or is it waterway, or by highway? So overall, the routing is what I kind of decided to focus on as far as data. I wanted to make sure that should you make a decision, these are some of the most common routes, who are the top 3PLs that are in the United States currently from 2019, 2020, and I'll get to that in a second. Who uses 3PLs? So they're quite obvious. As I mentioned, Amazon is the biggest one in the world. You have most Fortune 500 companies. You can see a quick chart on the domestic side from 2008 to 2019. You can kind of get an idea of who uses them and why would you use them. The technology side on a 3PL, should your business be considering it, you're pretty much going to go with whoever has the best tech right now. So with big data is a huge part in logistics. Whoever has the best software and the smartest team is going to be the people that you want to go with, primarily just because they will expedite everything. They'll make everything much more efficient, and overall will save you a lot of money. So what are the tools that we used overall in this course? From Python to Jupyter, Pandas, NumPy, different libraries, dictionaries, which Thomas, the instructor, was incredible. We used different tools like Visual Studio to handle the code, as well as I mentioned Jupyter, SQL. SQL was great for handling databases. We had a dummy database that we pulled data from. We went over different commands, which was really fun. And then Doug has been incredible with the Tableau. This is on the visualization of the data. This has been great, a great tool, and you will see in a second once I show you in the code why that's beneficial if you're trying to present or just pretty much organize the data. I mean, as you saw from Stephanie's presentation, which was incredible, by the way, it makes it really easy to present a large amount of data. So overall, the data that's coming up is going to be who are the top players in the game, the top water ports by tonnage from the data that I currently have accessible and is publicly accessible. Keep in mind, for anybody who has any experience in logistics, yes, the data, you want to go with the latest data. In this case, the data that I will be presenting, just a quick disclaimer, is based on what's publicly available for free. So, yeah, again, waterways and airports. And the coding part. So the code that we use, this is through the Python. At the beginning, I just wanted to import an Excel document. That was kind of the easiest way to bring it in. And then the commands, if somebody's familiar with the coding side, I just wanted you to kind of see what I actually did. This is when I imported the actual document and what the data looked like. Of course, you have a lot of fields that you're not going to be needing once you get start handling the data. This is a relatively small document, but once you're handling something much bigger, of course, you kind of want to get an idea of what you're going to be working with just to save you time. So I pulled a quick summary overall, what everything, the whole document was composed of. So if you had a lot more data, this just will give you a quick summary, which is really beneficial because you automatically see a quick screenshot of what you have. And again, what you want to change instead of having to literally go through the entire document. After you process and clean the data, get rid of the fields you don't need, organize it as you want. This is just a quick preview of what it will look like afterwards. So you can kind of see just having the fields that you don't want and then the organization much better is afterwards is much better and much easier. Now the plotting, should you want to plot this in this kind of software, you can see how terrible it looks. You cannot really understand any of it. Especially with that was limited data, you can imagine having a lot more data is going to be terrible. I wanted to show you an example of pulling data through an API. However, this is through a government website, but Socrata, if anybody's familiar with it, they handle transportation, education, and politics data, which is great if you're looking for any of those topics. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, their system is not providing me a token, which you need in order to move forward. But should you want to pull that, this is kind of the coding that you will need. And overall, this is what the data would look like. And what this will actually look like as a JSON file would be that. But, so yeah. Other than that, that's pretty much everything that I have. Does anybody have any questions?
Great presentation, David. I think we're all familiar with some of the.
Oh my God, excuse me. No, I am forgetting the visual part. I forgot the last part.
Oh,
I am jumping ahead, getting ahead of myself. And as far as, yeah, oh my God. Now, here we go. And the data. So the data that I spoke about earlier, as far as the top ports, I pretty much just pulled within the United States what were the top on general cargo. And yes, you can see for top 25, this is 2018 data. You can see that New York was the top. It's an interactive map, so you can kind of get a better idea. If you were looking for specifics in data, I could also easily provide that. Just you identify what kind of cargo you're looking at or where it's arriving from or where it's going to. So overall ports, if you have anything coming from anywhere outside the US, this is just kind of give you a general idea of who's handling the most volume and if you want to go there or if you're not. Now, New York, I got to tell you, based on the research that I did, they have a lot more fees because of how busy it is. So something to consider. As far as water ports, if you want a different visualization, you can just did a bubble chart, which gives you an idea throughout time. This is going back from 2015, going back to 2013, all the way to 2018. And so you get an idea of where the busiest, who have the more volume by tonnage. And yes, as far as air cargo, these are the top airports. They handle the most volume. This is, of course, due to FedEx headquarters in Memphis. But yeah, And then lastly, considering what recently took place with COVID, that impacted the industry that I was in, myself included. I got laid off because first we were handling the sanctions with China, and that impacted anybody that was handling any product with steel. I had huge customers from Germany and all over. And once the steel was not allowed to come into the United States, that just impacted so many industry, because once they get the product in here, it just ripples. And so anyway, as far as the 3PLs that survived, this is the top ranking and the bottom ranking. So just a quick bit of information. If you or anybody you know is doing business with these guys, you might want to reconsider taking a look at these guys, because currently they're the top. They're the survivors, and the only way you survive in that game of logistics is by having the best technology, the best software. So now I'm done. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, David. Great presentation.
Thank you.
No questions. Okay. All right. Thanks, David. That was great. All right. Next up in the rotation, Xavier. Whenever you're ready.
Ready. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Xavier Creighton Bradford. I am a college grad from St. Louis, Missouri. I attended college in Jefferson City, Missouri, the state capital. I also worked with the assembly, covered them as a reporter, working on my degree, excuse me. I'm also a sports writer by trade. I have my own blog. I've worked with Frank Cusimano radio show as recently as 2015. I discovered Savvy Coders actually looking for data on STL Today. So I was looking for something for the Cardinals to make a story better, and found Savvy Coders and decided to give it a chance. I believe data is important for our ever-changing world to understand the obstacles we will continue to face in the years to come. Okay, I called it Danger Zone 4 because I like the name. It sounds like an action flick from the 1980s. Changing world from Xavier Creighton, of course. So Twister was taken, so I couldn't call it that. So I decided to Danger Zone 4. So the honest question I wanted to ask was, is Tornado Alley expanding? The Southern United States is seeing more tornadic activity recently than ever before. The South is more at risk, according to USA Today, than the Plains, the Midwest, Tornado Alley. According to USA Today, the South is more at risk. We've had 60,000 tornadoes across the USA the last 70 years, more powerful than ever before, according to USA Today. Scientists don't quite understand why we're having more tornadoes, but one of the main ingredients, the Gulf of Mexico, is much warmer than ever before. So that may be contributing to the powerful storms. But one fact we do know is that tornadoes are increasing every year, every day, every season. We're having more tornadoes, with the exception of Alaska. Every place in the United States is having more tornadoes. Can anyone tell me what 4 states are Tornado Alley? Just take a guess.
Kansas, Iowa,
Missouri,
Texas.
Texas is one.
Nebraska.
Nebraska is one.
I heard Alaska.
One more. The major state, one more.
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma. Okay, so these 4 states specifically have the most tornadic activity, usually in the country, compared to the rest of the United States. The only issue being that the states surrounding it or surrounded to the east are beginning to have just as much tornadic activity. Specifically, us here in Missouri and in Arkansas. As you can see, Missouri in 1959 only had 39. Arkansas, it was even less with 12. But as the years went on, say 1999, 40 years later, Arkansas had 140 tornadoes in 1999. 12 to 140 in a 40-year difference. Missouri had 47. Okay, they started off with 39, now they have 47. But if we bring the chart to 2019, Missouri has 81. A precipitous increase from where we were in 1959. This is ever increasing, but I want to take a regional look and compare the South to Tornado Alley, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. So there's no place like home, sort of from the Wizard of Oz, the tornado scene. And I like to express how these are of a 10-year difference. It increased each year. Sometimes 100% over, sometimes 150% over in the South. It's a precipitous increase. It's dangerous, mainly because the South doesn't have the infrastructure of the Midwest or Tornado Alley. The South, most homes don't have basements. So as we know here in Missouri, when we have a tornado warning, we go down into our basements. In the South, there's no place to go except maybe the bathtub. So this leads to more casualties. Tornado casualties are down yearly. However, in the South, they are up because the infrastructure is not the same compared to Tornado Alley or the Midwest. And if you have a precipitous increase, of course, here in the American South, which is now overtaking Tornado Alley as the top region for tornadic activity in the last decade, then you'll gain more casualties. Of course, tornado sirens are a thing. However, tornado sirens are old, the systems are faulty, they're hard to get repaired. They're even hackable these days. In 2017, Dallas, Texas, their sirens were hacked and it led to an hour-long tornado warning. So these systems are faulty. They're relics of the Cold War and they're difficult to manage. So our infrastructure for tornadoes, period, is antiquated. The main issue, the largest problem I see with our system is that our entire system is antiquated, being that even the way we measure tornadoes is difficult and old. We don't know exactly how strong tornadoes are. Technically, if a tornado were to land in an open field and be a 200 mile per hour F5 tornado, if it doesn't damage a building, if it's just going through a cornfield, we wouldn't be able to know how powerful that storm was officially. So officially, we don't know the strength of these tornadoes. We don't know how many F5s we have. We don't know how many F4s we have. Unless they hit a building and destroy it, we wouldn't have any understanding of that. And it's very difficult to understand how powerful these storms are. The more damage they're doing and where they're landing and what path they take or how long they're on the ground. And that says a lot about our system. I mentioned power because there seems to be a changing heat wave in the Gulf of Mexico. This is abnormal. It's not in any way the usual Gulf of Mexico that we know. The waters are even 3 temperatures higher than our usual Gulf of Mexico weather. So what that would mean is that the cold winds that come down from Canada and the warmer air that comes up from the Gulf, would combine here in this area, which of course would create tornadic activity in Tornado Alley, which is why these 4 states get the most tornadic activity. And these storms will usually stay in those specific states. But what we're seeing now, as you can see with the radar, storms are continuing east and getting stronger. As you can see in the red, this is tornadic activity or thunderstorm activity, which can lead to tornadoes, which can spawn tornadoes. This is it's difficult with our systems that we have in place now to grasp how many we're having officially and in what way can we prepare for them. So it's definitely a problem with our changing climate, our changing weather, and everything we've experienced recently in the South being decimated by them. It's imperative that we continue to improve our technology and our systems to have a better understanding of tornadoes. The data you see here today was, give me just a second, I've got one more slide. Was prepared with data from CAGL and NOAA, the National Ocean and Atmospheric Administration, through Jupyter Notebook and Python. I cleaned the data to get a better understanding of it. Every single tornado, every single state. It gave me a better understanding of what the problems were. And I also researched the data for different sorts of tornadoes year to year. I tried to study the year and the strength, even though how we measure tornadoes is an inexact science. Given the name and seeing what data was missing each time, the years, the specific regions, I gathered all that together, cleaned it, and put it together in Tableau. That's my time. I'd like to thank Savvy Coders. I'll open the floor for questions.
I just want to say, Xavier, you made a good point about if data collection methods are broken and outdated, then what are you supposed to do? It's really hard to put that data in something that tells a story like you want it to. So let's invest in tornado sirens and getting that infrastructure built out better.
Well, I'm sorry to cut you off. Some people don't like tornado sirens. They'd rather have like cell phones and cell phone warnings like we have now with I can't think of it.
Amber Alert.
Amber Alert, thank you. And that's an improvement to a lot of people, because the sirens are, a lot of people think the sirens are antiquated. I think they're great. Of course, here in Missouri, we use them all the time, but the systems are hard to develop. The technology is hard to maintain.
Okay, great job. Thank you for that. I'm especially appreciative of that because we were in the Good Friday tornado. So I have a special place in my heart for tornadoes. Okay, Amitha, you are up next whenever you're ready.
Okay, before I go ahead and share my screen, this is Amitha. Let me just give a brief introduction about myself, what I am. So good evening, everyone, and thank you for making it for the demo. And about me, I started my career as a tech recruiter, and my education is from behavioral science. However, even though I have majors in behavioral science, I was fascinated with technology in terms of its evolution, especially when you try to put the technical frameworks with and the human behavior mindset. That was something which I was trying to understand and which prompted me to get my Scrum and product owner certifications. And after this, I thought I solved my problem. I got to know, but it added more because I was more intrigued on understanding the velocity, capacity, the lead time, change time, and all other things which come across on the agile metrics. So one thing I understood at that point of time is all these metrics are driven by the one thing, which is data. And at that point, I made my mind that, okay, yes, if I have to do something, if I have to get a better closure, let me look into the data analytics. And that's where I started my journey as a data analytic. So yes, now let me just go ahead and share my screen. Okay. This and this. All right. My topic for today is creating an opportunity through unemployment data. So this is my capstone project. So why creating an opportunity? Why did I choose this topic for my capstone? Because it in a way it relates to me because I'm in the same boat of what my topic talks about. That's one thing. And other one is like, I want to create an opportunity for myself to understand unemployment data, to present a compelling story with the skills I learned at the bootcamp. So the questions I'm trying to answer through this project are, what is the unemployment trend seen in recent past? Is it high or low? If it is high, what is it compared to in 2008? And what's the difference? What's the unemployment rate by state in the US? Does the unemployment rate and unemployment aid received by states from federal government correlate? Was there any significant relationship between industry, sector, and unemployment rate during the pandemic? If so, which industry was worst hit and vice versa? The process I implemented here is the stages of data analytics and requirements. Coming to the requirements, I had 3 requirements initially. I was wrangling on, okay, shall I take my agile? I had a data set on agile, but however, the dimensions were not so specifically defined, so I had to drop that. Then I was thinking about the unemployment and the gender gap. Is there any gender gap observed in an unemployment rate? That was still there in there until last week, but somehow I just came up with something new and I wanted to look in that way. So, and finally, I narrowed down onto the unemployment as a whole and start talking about different aspects of unemployment, which you will see, which is my business relevance. And okay, fine. I decided about my capstone project, the topic I'm going to talk about, but understanding what exactly I need to show what I'm trying to tell. That was something which I had to work with Doug and get a better understanding on how to get the data and see what are the dimensions and variables you want to measure. And once I got that data preparation, where I used Python and Jupyter to get my data, which was all in CSV, and got it into Excel, and then removing the columns which I don't need, and getting all the files into one master file and having it as one name. However, it kept the files kept adding, but initially that was a plan. And then renaming the column names, because once you download the raw data, you have the names which are in a different numbers or something. And then after the data preparation was done through the Python, I modeled, to some extent, I did model it with through Python. However, the better modeling was done through Tableau, because it was more easier in terms of working with the columns on what you want to use and what you want to remove by using those pivot tables. And at last, the presentation or the deployment in the real life scenario. So again, these are all the steps which I have followed while preparing the project. It's the same thing I was talking about: downloading the data, extract the data from the source file into Python, formatting the data from CSV to Excel, exporting the updated file and saving it in new name, renaming the columns, data ready for use in Tableau, establishing the data connection to Tableau, creating unions and imported sheets, preparing the data for the interpretation, creating table, calculated field. And I must say, I truly enjoyed the calculated field. I don't know, I somehow enjoyed working with that concept. And establishing the relationship between the dimensions and variables. Then testing, establish, and then, because I'm a kind of person, I would want to test right there. If I have figured out something, I would want to test how does it go on. So I was trying to get that established dimensions and valuable variables relation. I tested it and then confirmed it, and then made it in a better way. And visualize and forecasting the data and presenting the findings, and that's it. That's done. This is what I'm doing. That's I'm right now in my done stage. So, and for Python, I used data formatting and cleansing. The modules I use here is OS for finding my files, and pandas to use my to work on my data, and NumPy to get those cleaned up data sets. So let's quickly, here is it. So this is my link for the data I worked on. The first part talks about getting those downloads, which were in CSV, and finding them, because there were so many. I was working on the project, so I had too many sets. So that was getting crazier for me to understand which file is what. So I had to do this. So I first differentiated the CSV, if there is the file is there. And then once I did that, I got those converted into Excel for every sheet. And then after converting, I realized that I had almost like 6 different sheets together. So I thought, let me have one combined master file. So here I try to merge all those different files into.
Amitha, I don't think we're seeing what you're talking about.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, let me include this. Sorry about that. Okay, so do you want me to go from first? So this part of the code is I was trying to work with. I downloaded so many files. I was trying to understand where are my files to identify my files which I would be working for in my downloads. And here I started converting those CSV.files to Excel to have a better understanding of what I'm seeing. And because there were so many files, I didn't like them being scattered all over. So at this point of place, I merged all those files into one master file. and then creating a new file and creating a new name with the clubbed files in one. And here I tried to rename those names because I didn't like the way they were saying here. So I tried to rename all my columns into an appropriate name so that I can identify. And the full Tableau was more easier because it was just one right click, but still, this is what I was trying to do in terms of the data cleansing. And coming to the presentation of data through Tableau, before I go ahead with my deck on Tableau, I would I would want to disclose the functions and graphs I have used in my presentation. I used color conditional calculation, calculated tables, forecasting, grouping, range filters, and correlation field for calculations. The correlation part was added today, so I just wanted to have a better explanation on that. And the graphs were the bar graphs, maps, dual axis charts, line charts, and bubble charts. Yes, bubble is way to go. Okay, this was, let me just, all right. This is my deck for the creating opportunity through unemployment data. This is through Tableau. So this graph shows the unemployment rate in US from 2000 to 2020. And I have those green and red. Those are the color conditional calculations. So I got the average, and I made sure anything which is touching the average or going beyond, let me have a color defining to it. So my first question was, what is the difference? Is there any change in the employment, or is it high or low? So the current data shows an overview. How did we do in terms of an employment rate from 2000 to current? And historic unemployment rate was observed during the Great Recession in 2020, where the unemployment rate was 9.78. The next big was seen in 2020 due to pandemic. The average is at 8.2, and there is a difference of 1.56. Like, what's the difference? I asked the question during my first slide. This is the closer view. Here you see the states with high unemployment rate, and I drew my average from my filter from the average of 540 to above. Same with the unemployment benefits received. I had my start point from 2,400 to 2,784. So here we see Nevada tops on the rate of unemployment, and we see the Utah tops at the rate of unemployment benefits received. The next part is about, fine, I spoke about the high unemployment rates, but what about the low? So I wanted to see how does the data try to interpret in terms of low? So these were the states which had lower unemployment rate compared to the other ones. And just before I cover it up, it's only these states showed up when it compared to low unemployment benefits received. So even though Florida shows up on low unemployment benefits received, it doesn't show up on low unemployment. So this was a negative correlation, and my next slide exactly talks about the same thing. So this is the same view, but in a bar view, and here I got the difference in terms of the average unemployment rate and the average unemployment benefits received, and whether they are correlated, they are positive or negative correlation. So for Nevada and Utah, we had this one. Okay, this is West. So for Nevada and Utah, we had a negative correlation. This is for the unemployment rate, but look at this. There is a negative. And for Utah, this shows there is a negative correlation in terms of the payment received from the unemployment rate. So do we see any significance with the unemployment rate and unemployment benefits received? Well, this is too early to comment because there's more data coming in. Probably by September or October, we would get a better numbers on to say pinpoint that if there is any correlation, is it something, if there's any positive correlation in that. The next view of the unemployment is the industry and sector-wise view. So these all industries or the sectors were affected by pandemic, and the most affected one was the leisure and hospitality. And this has a positive correlation with the state of Nevada. So we see why was it topping the list, because most of the industries in Nevada are based out on leisure and hospitality. And when we look at the least impacted industries during pandemic, we see agriculture, and Nebraska tops the list because they have the top 5 agriculture products which they produce. So seeing this, what do you think we are trending for? We have the blue line, which talks about 2020 unemployment rate, and the orange line talks about the 2021. So there is a significant difference in terms of what it was last year and what's going on in next year. So what do you think we are getting back to the pre-COVID? Your thoughts? Do you think we are getting there? Any suggestions or any guesses?
Slowly, very slowly.
Pretty slowly. So yeah,
Yes.
we are, because there, okay, let's see if we have that there. There we go. So yes, we are getting down there. Pre-COVID, our unemployment rate was 3.71. However, the trend shows by 2022, we would be 6.16, which is not bad. But we would gradually go there in, slowly, but we would not, we should see how soon we would hit this 3.71 soon. So that was about my opportunity with unemployment. So any questions?
Only a relevant topic for sure in today's climate. Did you think at any point about maybe layering in workforce automation and its impact on unemployment rates aside from COVID or the Great Recession?
Well, there is another aspect of unemployment rate, and apart from the COVID and the industry or sector, the gender gap. Yes, there was a significant gap, because if we could fill out that gap, yes, because one aspect is, yes, gender gap, if because during 2020, before even the COVID hit, the unemployment rate were trending almost together for both men and women, like both genders were affected in terms of unemployment. However, for 2021, when you see the predictions, the gap between the gender comes back. You see most women are not coming back to their work, and we know why, because of the childcare or even because of the virtual schooling. But that's one of the aspects. And coming to the automation, that's something which has been going, which could be contributing for it. But I think in the recent data, it shows the significance is because of the pandemic, and if there is any market dynamic or market dynamics, it's basically most on the market dynamics.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Sure. Okay.
Great presentation, Amitha.
Thank you. And well, one last slide. The references for my project were from Bureau of Labor Statistics, and this are the sites which I have used in terms of showing the state-wise differences. And last but not least, it's because of you guys we have come so far. A big thank you to you all.
You are quite welcome. Okay, thank you for your presentation. All right, last but never least, Sheila, whenever you're ready.
Hello, am I showing up? Great. Hi, my name's Sheila Rabbitt, and my background is in the arts and education. But about 7 years ago, I started my coding journey with CS50 and Coda Girls through Launch Code. But I've had a lifelong interest in mathematics and recently a strong interest to learn Python. And that's what has led me to Savvy. My capstone project, which I'm presenting today, it analyzes the revenue of the movie industry by studio and genre, both pre-pandemic and today, and it charts the success of the past and the present. So I'm just going to get started with my project, and then later I will show you my process. So the data set that I used for this first story is I took title, genre, studio, and profitability for movie releases from 2007 to 2012. It was courtesy of informationisbeautiful.net, and I found the data actually on Tableau Public. It was one of the sample data sets. So this is the way we were. This was the film industry in 2007 and 2012. And this was before streaming was popular, and most of the revenue was made at the box office. So some of the charts that I used, first I just broke it down by studio, and the most successful was Warner Brothers, was the lead studio, and then there was Disney and Summit and Universal. They're all the top. And the genre that led at the time actually was comedy, and with romance coming in second, and just individual studios. So comedy was king, but when you looked at the individual films, these are the top 10 films for that time period, and Disney led with WALL-E and Tangled and the live action Enchanted. Warner Brothers, their most successful films was Sex and the City and the sequel. Universal Studios, their big movie at the time was Mamma Mia, which is a musical with Meryl Streep is starring in it. And Summit had the Twilight dramas at that time. And this is just a more specific look at that same data set and the same films, but broken down. This is the most successful films by comedy, and these are the individual films. So this is, again, Mamma Mia, Sex and the City, Enchanted, The Proposal. And if you want, you can also just break them, all of them down by genre. And this is at the individual films. Again, these are just the different, for fantasy, The Curious Case of Benjamin Buttons was very popular back in this time as well. And then what I wanted to do was go a little bit further, and I went and I included this next chart. It includes films up to 2018, and this data set I call this Follow the Money. It's still pre-pandemic, but it's comparing revenue and ratings. So I got this data set from thenumbers.com, which the website says it's where data and the movie business meet. And I actually got permission from the Opus data to use this data set for my project. And that was one of the data sets. And the other data set was from Rotten Tomatoes. And they have a tomato meter score, which is they rate movies from 0 to 100 based on the opinion of hundreds of film and television critics. And it is a trusted measurement of the recommendation by other fans. And so what I wanted to do here was I took, so what I did was I did a data blend in Tableau to combine these separate databases with a common field Untitled. And then I used a scatter plot and a trend line. What I want to do with this is the other charts were a little more static. I wanted to show what the trends will be in the future based on the data from the past. So these are all the movies. This is, so for example, this is the rating, the tomato meter. And then this is the international box office. And then, so some of these movies are like Lady Bird, you know, very highly rated, but it didn't bring in as much money as other films. That's a lot of these. So it shows a lot of films are, the fans and the critics like it, but they don't necessarily make a lot of money at the box office. Whereas this quadrant is both the movies that are highly rated and they do well at the box office. Children's movie Paddington, Inside Out. This quadrant is movies that didn't get good ratings and did not bring in money. I have actually never heard of this movie, Soul Surfer. And then these are, this was, up here is more, that's closer to, these are my median lines here, my reference lines, but something like The Lone Ranger, 31 rating and did not do well at the box office. So these, just to explain these different quadrants. But so here, what I've done is I have filtered all these movies through different genres. And what I was interested is, I was gonna ask Lori, I can compare two different genres and see where the trend is going forward.
So you want me to pick?
Yes, it's under, yeah, these are.
How about we do animation and Westerns?
So that is what we would have has a positive relationship. It is an upward slope. A Western movie, The Hateful Eight, is right on that trend line. And Kung Fu Panda, Big Hero 6, How to Train Your Dragon 2. And this trend line, it has both an R value and a P value. P value is for accuracy, and the R value is for the correlation. Thank you. And Justin, could you pick two? Genres? Oh?
I'll pick two. I'll go with drama and sci-fi.
Okay, thank you. So plotting those two genres, that has more of a negative, so it has a downward slope. Movie Arrival, which actually was had a high rating. Star Trek, I love Star Trek. Planet of the Apes, but it's just showing for the trend for the future is that drama and science fiction probably wouldn't be as successful as the other movies. So thank you. And so now we're, oh, sorry.
I have a question. Would you go back to that? What was it? Drama and Justin, what was it? Drama and sci-fi?
Yes.
Correct.
Drama and science fiction. Yes.
I'm always interested in the outlier. So
Okay.
what movie made over 14 or 1.4 million and only got an 84 rating, all the way over at the bottom of the bottom right?
Bottom right. Oh, yes. I'm sorry, I have to move my bar real quick. It's kind of blocking it. It's
The Avengers.
Avengers Infinity War, which did very well, but the critics didn't like it as much.
Great. Thanks.
Great movie.
I think $1 billion still says it did pretty well.
So now I'm going to go into a different story. This is where we were pre-pandemic. But then what happened was the film industry was disrupted, just as many industries were. And there was an 80% drop in 1 year for ticket sales. So in 2019, the movie ticket sales for US and Canada was about $1.25 billion. And the next year it was $250 million. So part of my story too, I was interested, how did the film industry adapt to this? And so this is my next story. So what I did for this is the data set is from comscore.com, and they do a top 10 ranking of films, domestic box office, international box office. They release it every week. So what I did was I downloaded the CSVs from the past 3 weeks just to see where we really were currently with box office. And this is what I found. So this is the domestic box office results for the past 3 weeks of the summer 2021. And you have Hitman's Wife's Bodyguard in the #1 spot a few weeks back, and Quiet Place Part 2. And then just the next week, we had the action film. We had F9, The Fast Saga, was in the #1 spot with 30 million, whereas the week before had been around 11 million. And Universal actually has the top 3 spots. It has Boss Baby following in second place, which is a animation family movie. And The Forever Purge, which is actually classified as, they said, horror Western. So that might be a new kind of combination I wasn't really familiar with. But then we had last weekend. So fasten your seatbelts. Black Widow, a part of the Marvel franchise owned by Disney. It set a pandemic record of 80 million domestic box office. So this chart, again, is the top 10 from last week. But as you see, especially by the average and the median, comparing it to the other movies, it was such an outlier, just so successful. And I also used a bubble chart just to show, again, the comparison. This is Black Widow, and this is the movies that were in the #1, 2, 3 spots just the week before. And then lastly, I just did a tree map just to kind of show, again, comparing Disney to the other studios, just how they were really dominating. And the performance of Black Widow is notable because it displays that movies can bring in solid streaming, they can bring in solid box office receipts, despite being available on streaming services at the same time. And another female action hero film, Wonder Woman, 1984, it was released similarly on HBO Max and the theaters on Christmas Day. And it was another one of the great successes of the pandemic. So I think the future of film going forward is, I think that you'll be very successful if you release both simultaneously at the box office and on the streaming services. And you have a female action hero leading the movie. So, and what I wanted just to talk about so that was my project, and I just wanted to talk about my process for creating this project. These were the technologies that I used in this project and over the course of the boot camp. Pandas, which is Python data analysis library, NumPy or NumPy. It's another library for Python programming language. And I used Atom as my IDE. I used the command line and terminal both to deploy the Jupyter Notebook and using get for version control and pushing to GitHub. And oh, sorry, someone said I apologize, I don't see my screen. I I will.
Yeah.
I'm gonna.
I
could see
it.
it.
Looks
I could
good.
see it.
Yeah.
Sorry, someone just said they couldn't see my screen. Let me go back. Okay. All right, so back. So yeah, GitHub and I did, for this particular project, we learned SQL in this class. In my project, I used concepts from SQL on relational databases applied to data prep and Tableau. I did use Python, and I pushed my code to GitHub, and I was going to show it just in one moment, and obviously Tableau, which is the presentation that I just showed. And I'm just, do you see the GitHub? See it? Okay, yes. So this is the data set that I got from thenumbers.com. And so a lot of this was my process for a lot of the data sets, basically reading it from the CSV, converting it to a data frame. This is a main step I did for all the data sets. I wanted the information, how many entries, how many columns, what am I working with? So I know, how I need to kind of shape it down into a manageable format for Tableau. And so dropping columns, then checking again, see where I was at, what other columns needed to be dropped. And I finally kind of got it into a manageable, just a manageable data set for myself. And then running descriptive statistics on the different columns on the production budget, domestic box office. But mostly what I'm most proud of for the Python was I struggled just a little bit with, after I had gotten the data frame the way I wanted, how did I get it back into a CSV that I could import to Tableau? So I figured this out last week and I was very happy. So this is the code that I wanted to share. This is my GitHub. I have a lot of the code that we did during the cohort, and also these are past projects, some web development in Ruby on Rails. And I'm going to be very, very quick talking about my process and workflow. I used Python and specifically Pandas and NumPy to read the CSVs into a data frame. I cleaned, manipulated the data frame, dropped the columns, and shaped it into the data that was relevant to the project. Even if a data set wasn't used in the final Tableau project, every data set that was considered, I first analyzed in Jupyter. Once the data set was connected to Tableau, it entered the first phase in Tableau with data prep, such as renaming columns and changing data types. And then finally, with Tableau, I combined multiple data sets using Union and Data Blend. And that is my project, and that is my process. And I just wanted to close with this. Our teacher, Doug, suggested that we watch the movie Moneyball before the end of the class. That was fine with me. I'm a huge Brad Pitt fan, and I've seen the movie a number of times. But I just wanted to share some of the lessons from Moneyball. Asking the right questions instead of the wrong ones. Honesty in your relations to people. Finding value in people when others don't. You're successful when you remove the obstacles that are in your way. It is very important to draw others into your mission so you can defy the odds. And I wanted to end with this because this is what I feel Savvy Coders did for me. And so I just very grateful. Thank you.
Okay, any questions for Sheila? That was a great presentation. I love the movie aspect of it. I think that everybody here can relate. And I saw some chats going back and forth about certain movie houses or production houses. So, well, that is it for us tonight. I'm going to give you back most of your evening. I'm really, really, really happy that everyone could come. I saw some new faces, so I'm going to be happy to meet you all. if anybody has any questions, you can reach out to me directly, but we're going to get this video downloaded and then put up to the Savvy YouTube channel. So if you needed to go back and review a presentation, you can. And I believe that you all have resumes, but if you don't, let me know and I will get those to you. Okay. Thank you all. Thank you all very much for attending.
Thanks, Lori. Great job, everyone.
Great job.
Thank you, everybody. Nice
Great
meeting
job,
everyone.
everyone. Very, very great presentations.
Thanks, Kelly. Students, why don't you stay?
Can I go?
Yeah.
I can't go.
Yes.
Okay.
Any last words?
Just great job. Just, woo, I know it feels good to be done, doesn't it? Yes.
Was it what you expected?
A minute, wait, no, it doesn't feel good to be done.
Oh.
We're never really done with this. It's something
Okay.
that we continue
Never
to
done.
grow.
Don't feel good about being done.
Yeah. don't.
Oh, we are still having a certification. So yes, we are not done yet.
Okay.
You are not done.
They're not
It is
done.
not
Okay,
over.
they're not done.
She has not sung yet.
And
So yes.
I wanted to pay a huge compliment to everyone. Lots of good, smart work. Anybody can work hard. And if anyone says to you, I really enjoy working hard, they're lying. Work smart. You all worked smart over at least the last 4 weeks. And I think Thomas would have the same comment. I don't want to speak for him, but working smart is, I think, how you all got here. And as you go forward in your career, please connect with me on LinkedIn and let us all try and stay in touch and help each other. Because it is an interesting data analytics community here in St. Louis. As we discovered in class, there's a lot of good opportunity. And as you saw here, there are a lot of people who are interested. So if I can be of help as you go forward, please let me know.
And yeah, I hope to see everyone in person, and let's meet each other in person at graduation at Ryan Humrock Park in Maplewood on August 4th or 5th. You all RSVP'd, so everyone said they would be there. So we'll hold you to it.
Wednesday, be there, be square.
So
It
that's
is
gonna
the
be,
Wednesday.
I thought that was actually gonna be also not
Virtual.
necessarily
Yes.
virtually.
Yeah, we will have a virtual element for anyone that cannot attend in person. So you will not be left out, David.
Okay, cool. I heard that Doug was gonna buy everybody pizza, so unfortunately I won't make it, but cool.
Pizza?
That's okay. David will beat me some up.
Just pizza? Oh, we'll do more than that. Man.
I'm really happy to see this as much as I saw. I also stopped by earlier and was looking at some of the videos from the presentations over the past couple of days while you were putting it together, and really impressed and super awesome to see all that. I'm also I think it's really neat personally that you guys use some of the Python and use some of that too. It's good to see. I appreciate that. And just really happy to see all this. Congratulations.
Great job to everyone. I mean, again, from Monday to Thursday, huge strides, polishing, practicing. I mean, that's what it's all about. And you guys were amazing. Amazing. And I know that my client partners are going to be reaching out soon. I have that feeling. Stephanie Grimshaw just sent me a Slack message and said she is interviewing data scientists for a position. And she said, basically, your presentations were as good as any of the presentations she's seen.
Mm-hmm.
Huge, huge kudo. So I'll get more details on that. Then we'll be in touch for sure. So great job.
I will definitely be in touch with all of you for one more week. So yeah, I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere.
Right. And I want to do a little bit of work with everybody on their resumes for their capstone project too. So, okay, I'll be in touch, but reach out if you have any questions.
And don't forget to add a positive review and rate my professor to all the instructors.
What
It makes a
am I
difference.
going to do with my Monday through Thursday nights?
I'm sure you'll think of something.
Cool.
The
Relax on
world is your oyster. It really is.
It is, as you can see behind me.
Yeah. Find that pearl.
That's right. It was really fun working with you all, and I do wish you all the best with the exam. Don't let it freak you out, because you guys did a lot of good work. We covered a lot of good things. I actually was looking at a data science curriculum from a college in the Northeast. I'm mentoring someone at work, and they are doing a, what did he say, a 4-5 week data visualization class. And the only thing that they are covering that we did not was Gestalt principles, which many people are saying, what is that? And all it is it's how, from a Amitha, from a behavioral science point of view, how people view presentations and view visualizations. And you hit on one of the best charts, which is that bubble chart. People are attracted to it.
Love bubble chart.
There you go.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
And it's not just the people who are seeing the presentation, even it affects the people who are presenting the presentation. So it's your view which you're trying to put it across. So yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.
Hey, guys.
You
One
all
last
You guys.
be
One
proud.
last thing.
Proud I am.
Let's take a victory lap and all watch Infinity War in honor of Doug.
Infinity War, what is that? Oh,
Have fun with that.
You
That
all.
movie that rated really low but made a ton of money.
The Shining rated really low, and it's a classic.
The Shining.
Sheila, it would have been interesting to also see production cost.
Yeah.
Yes, actually, I did have that data on some of the movies, but not all. But yes, well, the ones at the top 30, it was really profitable. Those were the ones. It wasn't that they made the most. It was that was from minusing the budget from the so
the revenue.
Yes, that the first set, the 30, it was it was profit from, it was the profit, so.
But Sheila, doesn't the US government sponsor the Avenger movies? I think it's the military that pays for the Avengers films. Sorry, that's very dry humor. Ignore me, sometimes it seems like it's almost like movies to get you going into that kind of world. It's like, I don't know. Don't believe it. Stick with data. Trust me.
That's that behavioral science working.
Yeah, exactly.
You can be a data hero without being a Avenger,
Oh, I had Doug as a wizard for my data on my slide. So yes, if you want to go ahead and check it. So you were the data whiz for me.
I will change my LinkedIn header to data whiz.
Okay.
All right, no more muggles.
I'm going to shut down, and I think when I shut down, I will shut you all down. So, want to go?
Bye.
Buenas noches.
Party.
Buenas noches.